We back at it, episode 6, talking about a healthy relationship. So, number one, congratulations to you if you are still in a relationship, in a healthy relationship, because being in a relationship on top of a doc program is hard work. It's hard work because you're managing multiple roles, you have multiple responsibilities, and you have someone else to consider. Same rules apply if you have children or families, the whole nine. So hats off to you. The PhD itself, the doc journey itself is a process, and that's a whole person that you're managing. So to have other people that you're actually managing and working through, I definitely commend you for that. So hats off to you. So for those who are considering leaving their relationship, considering getting into a relationship, ending, keeping, continuing, wherever your status is. This is just one nugget to assist you in this process when dealing with relationships. So to me, when it comes to relationships, number one, it's about you. You first. The person who's listening to this video, the person who's in the doc program, it's about you first. Knowing that other people don't have an opportunity to do or say anything, or whatever they say or do, how relevant is it to you? Which could be really tough hearing. Meaning it's finding balance. Finding that balance within your relationship and within the relationship you have with your doc program. It's a relationship that requires some give and take on both ends. And the only thing that you can control or change in this situation is you. The decisions that you make, what you choose or choose not to do, that's what you have control over. How people will respond to your choices, you don't have any control over. So be mindful of the things that you can control and the things that you cannot. Other people, we just don't have that much control. We don't have that much power. So consider yourself. So this message is coming to you selfishly. Yes, it's okay to be selfish. Number one, you're in a doc program. This requires some selfishness. I say that again, being in a doc program requires selfishness. And I don't know anyone who hasn't been able to overcome this process and program without practicing some level of selfishness at one point or more throughout their experience. Just don't see it happening. So what I'm asking you to do is put yourself first. Be okay with being selfish because it's needed for you to manage what's necessary for your program. Number one thing comes to mind to me is first understanding, are you currently in a healthy relationship? Being in a healthy relationship to me requires only three core things. Majority of the time. Those three core things are effective communication, trust, and respect. That's the core of every healthy relationship. Anything else that you want comes from those three. Money, love, commitment, respect, whatever you come up with, sex, you name it. Those cannot happen without one or more of those. Well, all three of those things have to happen in order for you to get any of those other things that you want. The commitment, the patience, the time, all of that. That comes from those core three. So I'll say it again. Effective communication, trust, and respect. That's the core of developing and maintaining a healthy relationship. You can't have all three of those things at all times. However, you can have them majority of the time. So you hear people say all the time, it's the difference between 80 and 20. Can't have 100%. We can have 80 and 20 or 90 and 10. I actually agree with that. So when you think about your relationship, is this healthy 80% of the time or 20% of the time? And for some of us, our relationships are healthy 80% of the time, which means 20% is the BS, the drama, the whatever, the disagreements. That's 20%. And others, 80% is the drama, the BS, the disagreement, the disrespect, all of those things, 80% of the time. And 20% of the time is good. And to me, I think it's important for you to have a relationship that's 80% of the time, all three of those things. So to give you an example, the last incident that happened between you and your significant other or anyone came from the lack of one or more of those three things. So take a moment to think about the last incident that happened between you and your partner. Now that you have the incident, think about what happened, what went wrong. More than likely, there was, number one, the lack of effective communication. Somebody didn't communicate effectively, either you or that person. The second, there was a trust factor. That person didn't trust you or you didn't trust that person, vice versa. Some kind of trust happened. And then the last was respect. Respect did didn't happen from either party. That's the only time conflict happens, is the lack of one or more of those three things. So the more you maintain effective communication, trust, and respect, the more you can maintain a healthy relationship. Truth be told, there's a lot of people who do not know this concept, or they don't practice it. So it's hard to get that information if they're not aware. So now that you're aware, if you haven't been, you are aware of what can I do 80% of the time, if not more. And that's communicating more effectively, which means I may not be texting as much. It may be a phone call, maybe a conversation. That effective communication also, even though we're communicating, it doesn't mean it's understood. So how effective is it if it's not understood? And understanding that we all communicate differently. So just because something works for you doesn't mean it works for the other person. The respect piece. A lot of times people are having a difficult time respecting where you are in life, where you are in this process, because you've never been here before and they've never seen you there before. So because they've never seen you there before, it's hard for them to understand when you're not available, when you're not present, when you're not whatever. They just don't get it. And they will never get it, to be honest. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So going back, effective communication, respect, and the trust piece. So all three of those are very important when it comes to maintaining a healthy relationship. This is things that you have to do. We can expect them from our partner, but we can't control what they do or don't, but we can educate them as well. We can talk about those three keys to establish and maintain a healthy relationship. And if you're if you're in an unhealthy relationship, I'm not saying just get out of there, run away, break up, but it does pose a question for you. To me, being in a doc program is an unhealthy relationship off the top. It's unhealthy, especially if you're a person of color. It's a very unhealthy relationship on all aspects of life. And I used to call my doc program, my dissertation, wifey, because it was a very unhealthy marriage, and that was wifey. So I was committed to wifey. So I had a girlfriend on the side, but wifey was number one. And to me, that's what allowed me to be successful in my doc program. I put that program number one most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, because that's what it took in order for me to finish. Not saying that that's the case for you, but for me, I had to put her first. Yes, I had to put wifey first. I'm so glad I got a divorce back in August 2018. One of the worst marriages I've ever been in. Only marriage I've ever been in. Worst. It's the only and the worst. So yes, I know what you're dealing with. So regardless of your sex, your wife or your husband or your partner, I'm talking about your dissertation, your doc program, that is a partner within itself. I don't know if you got the memo or not. So you're dealing with that, and then you have to deal with your partner. So the thing I wanted to bring up that I put a pause in when it comes to your partner is not only your partner, but anyone in your life that knows you, and knows that you're going through this program. Majority of the people will not understand what you deal with every day. They can't. They have an idea, just like you had an idea about what a doc program was, and that idea became a reality after your first year or first semester. And that reality is, this is not what I thought it was gonna be. You know I'm telling the truth. So, the reality is, this is not what I expected. This is not what I thought it would be. This is not what I wanted to do. Like, no. And every day you probably decide, am I going to quit? Am I going to quit today? I'll tell you this. You can tell yourself this every day. I'll quit tomorrow. Tell yourself this every single day. I'll quit tomorrow. I'll quit the doc program tomorrow. Do that all the way until graduation. And I guarantee you're going to finish. Just tell yourself every day, when you need to, I'll quit tomorrow. All right, back to the point. No one understands this life, and there's nothing you can say or do for anyone to understand what it's like to be a doc student. The only people who know what it's like to be a doc student are those who have completed doctoral programs, are currently in doctoral programs, removed from doctoral programs, ABD status. Outside of that, or faculty, no one knows what this life is like unless they've done it, period. I don't care what you do. You can bring them to class with you every day for a whole semester, and they still won't know what it's like. You have to accept that reality that nobody gets it, and they won't. And it's not your responsibility to make them understand. They won't. So stop wasting your time. Do you and me a favor. Stop wasting your time. Find balance, find what works for you, and stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand what this life is like. If you've never heard it before, you're hearing it right now. Keep this in mind when you get into your next argument and disagreement with anyone related to you and your doc program. This is why. They don't get it, and they won't. And that's okay. So I'll leave you. Remember those 3 keys: effective communication, trust, and respect. They'll never get it. Find what works for you. Be selfish, and it's okay to be selfish. Give yourself permission to be selfish, and if you choose to be selfish this week, guess what? Blame me. You can say, my therapist, Jason Brand, said I got to be selfish this week. Blame me. They'll never find me. That's fine. That's cool. Blame me, but next week, it's on you. Blame yourself next week. All right? Peace.